Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're going to be diving into I Am Legend. It's a film that really gets under your skin.
It does, doesn't it? There's so much to unpack, isn't there?
Yeah, we're going to be talking about all sorts of things like how far is too far when it comes to scientific advancement. And then there's that whole question of what even is humanity, especially in the face of like a global catastrophe.
Right, right. And what about the ethics of it all? Like when you're dealing with a pandemic and trying to save humanity, can you do anything? What are the lines you just can't cross?
Exactly. And then, of course, there's that powerful theme of sacrifice that runs throughout the whole film. So yeah, a lot to dive into. But first, just to set the stage, we're talking about a world ravaged by this virus, right? It's turned most of humanity into these terrifying creatures called dark seekers.
Imagine New York City, but completely desolate, crumbling. Robert Neville, our main character, he's a scientist, and he seems to be immune to the virus. So he's alone, the last man standing, it seems, and all around him are the dark seekers.
Yeah, the film does a great job of making you feel that isolation, that fear. So let's get into the science behind it all, huh? You've got this virus originally created to cure cancer, and then it mutates.
And it just goes haywire. It becomes incredibly contagious, spreads like wildfire, and boom, global pandemic. It's a chilling reminder, I think, of how even the best intentions can have devastating consequences. The law of unintended consequences and all that.
It really makes you think about the responsibility that comes with scientific discovery, doesn't it?
No.
Okay, so we've got this pandemic, these terrifying dark seekers, but the film doesn't just portray them as mindless monsters, right?
No, not at all. There are moments where you see glimpses of intelligence, of strategy, even emotion.
Yeah.
It makes you question whether they're simply a deviation from humanity or something else entirely. Like, what if they're the next step in human evolution?
Whoa. Yeah, it's a mind-blowing concept. It forces you to reevaluate your own definition of humanity. Like, what does it even mean? If these creatures evolved from us, are they still human in some way? It really gets you thinking.
It does, and that's where the debate gets really fascinating, I think, because it challenges our preconceived notions about what it means to be human, to be at the top of the food chain, so to speak.
Right. Okay, so we've got this post-apocalyptic world, these evolving dark seekers. But I Am Legend also explores the profound isolation of Robert Neville. I mean, imagine the weight of being the last human being surrounded by emptiness and these creatures lurking in the shadows.
It's a heavy burden, and the film does an incredible job of putting you in Neville's shoes. You see him struggling to maintain some sense of normalcy, talking to mannequins, clinging to routines.
And of course, there's his relationship with his dog, Sam. Sam's like this beacon of hope and companionship in a world that's gone mad.
Right, their bond is so powerful. It's a reminder that even in the darkest of times, connection, love, those things still matter. And it speaks to that deep-seated human need for companionship.
Exactly. Even when everything else is stripped away, that need for connection persists, which, makes Neville's ethical dilemmas all the more complex. Because he's not just a scientist searching for a cure. He's a man grappling with impossible choices in a world that's lost its moral compass.
And that's where things get really interesting.
Okay, so let's talk about Neville's experiments on the infected. He's clearly driven by this desire to save humanity, to find a cure. But the methods he uses, capturing dark seekers, experimenting on them, it raises all sorts of ethical questions, right?
Absolutely. I mean, how far is too far when it comes to scientific exploration, especially when you're dealing with creatures who were once human?
Right. Where do you draw the line? It's a moral tightrope walk, that's for sure. And I Am Legend doesn't shy away from that complexity. It forces us to confront these uncomfortable questions and acknowledge that there are no easy answers.
It's true. It's one of the things that makes the film so thought-provoking. It doesn't provide simple solutions. It challenges you to grapple with the gray areas.
Yeah, it makes you think. And then there's that theme of sacrifice. You see Neville putting his life on the line again and again, risking everything to collect data, test his theories. He's not just motivated by self-preservation, There's something deeper driving him.
It's hope, isn't it? It's the unwavering belief in the potential for humanity to be restored, even when all seems lost.
And that's what makes I Am Legend so fascinating. It intertwines this hope with the concept of evolution. The Dark Seekers are evolving, changing, becoming something new. And it makes you wonder, is Neville's quest to find a cure about saving humanity? Or is it about clinging to a past that's already gone?
It's such a powerful question, right? Because what if the future isn't about going back to the way things were? What if it's about adapting to this new reality, embracing the unknown? It's scary for sure, but it's also incredibly exciting.
It is. So we've got this post-apocalyptic world, a lone scientist battling not just a virus, but his own demons, the ethical complexities of scientific research, and this overarching question of what it means to be human in a world that's been irrevocably changed.
And that's just scratching the surface. There's so much more to uncover. I Am Legend is a film that keeps you on the edge of your seat while also making you ponder some of life's biggest questions. So we're back talking about I Am Legend. It's a film that really gets you thinking, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. Like one of the things that struck me was how they show how much we need connection with other people, even when the world's gone crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Neville talking to those mannequins, right? And trying to keep up his old routines. And then, of course, Sam.
Sam, yeah. It really highlights how much we crave that connection, even in the most extreme circumstances.
It makes you wonder how you'd cope. If you were in Neville's shoes, would you be able to stay, sane with no other people around?
Yeah, it's a tough one to imagine, yeah. But on top of all that, Neville's also got these massive ethical dilemmas to wrestle with. He's trying to save humanity, but...
But his methods are, questionable, to say the least.
Exactly. Experimenting on the infected.
Yeah.
Is that crossing a line? It's a debate we see playing out in the real world too, right? With all the advancements in science, where do we draw the line?
It's a question that doesn't have a simple answer. And I Am Legend doesn't pretend to have all the answers either, I think. It leaves you wrestling with those questions, which is what good sci-fi should do, right?
It does, and it makes you really appreciate those moments of human connection in the film, like with Neville and Sam. Their bond is so strong, it's like this little island of normalcy in a world that's gone to pieces.
And then when Sam gets infected, oh man.
I know, that scene.
It breaks your heart, doesn't it? You can really feel Neville's pain.
It's like a punch in the gut. It reminds you that even in a world ravaged by this virus, the most devastating losses can be the personal ones.
It's true. And it's a turning point for Neville, isn't it, after Sam? Well, he becomes even more determined to find a cure, but also maybe a little more reckless,
Yeah, there's a shift in him. Like, you wonder if revenge is starting to factor into his motivations.
It's interesting, right? Grief can be such a powerful motivator. It can make us do things we never thought we were capable of.
Definitely. And that leads us to the climax of the film, where all these themes, the isolation, the ethics, the connections, the sacrifices, it all comes to a head.
It's a powerful climax, for sure. And I think it really brings home what it means to be human in a world that's been completely turned upside down.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're still exploring I Am Legend. It's a film that just keeps you thinking.
It does, yeah. Like, remember, Neville thinks he's the last human, right? Trying to get the world back to how it was. But then the climax hits you with this twist.
Yeah, I mean, those dark seekers, they aren't just mindless monsters. They're evolving. Like, they're getting smarter, more organized.
Yeah, there are even hints they're developing some kind of social structure, maybe even empathy. It kind of makes you rethink the whole thing, doesn't it? What if Neville's fighting against the future, not for it?
Right. Like, imagine if the virus isn't an enemy, but like a force of change.
Yeah.
It's pushing humanity in a new direction, even if it's a scary one.
Totally. It's like the film is saying, hey, maybe humans aren't the end-all, be-all of evolution.
Maybe we're just one step in a much bigger process. Which makes Neville's final sacrifice even more interesting, right? He gives his life to protect the cure. But what if the cure isn't about going back to how things were?
Yeah, it's like he's passing the torch to whatever comes next, whether it's humans or something else entirely.
It's a powerful message about letting go, accepting change, and also about responsibility, Neville created that virus to cure cancer, and it backfired in the worst way.
It shows you can't always predict the consequences of your actions, even with good intentions. That's a lesson for all of us, especially when it comes to things like, messing with nature.
Absolutely. But even with all the darkness, the film leaves you with this sense of hope, that no matter what happens, life finds a way.
It does, yeah. I Am Legend is a film that stays with you. It asks these big questions about what it means to be human, about the limits of science, about sacrifice. And it doesn't give you easy answers. It makes you think for yourself.
And that's what makes it such a great piece of science fiction. So what are your thoughts? How did I Am Legend make you feel? Let's keep the conversation going. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.